Hey everyone! For this assignment, I learned about augmented reality, or AR, which I honestly knew very little about beforehand. But I was excited to dive into this topic because I can imagine that AR and VR, or virtual reality, will be a big part of our technological future. And the reason I started with the question, reality but better, is because I wanted to make sure that all of these applications of AR were really thoughtful and they weren't simply technology for technology's sake. I think this is important, especially in education, so I made sure to ask myself this question throughout my research. So AR involves using a device like a smartphone or tablet to augment or enhance the world around us. Through a screen, you see the real world plus a layer of computer generated images. So not only is the image static, but amazingly, we're able to interact with it. Many times the images are 3D, making them look very realistic. And perhaps the most well known example of augmented reality is the game Pokemon Go, which allows you to capture Pokemon that look like they're standing right in front of you. And as I'm sure you can imagine, this technology has been used for so much more than just creating games, and developers have already made all sorts of tools for this, especially in educational settings. So I wanted to share some amazing augmented reality apps that I found. There's one called IKEA Place, which lets you scan your room and then be able to take true to size images of IKEA furniture or decor and place it right into your home so you can get a really accurate example of what it'll look like. And apparently, this is precise down to the millimeter. There's something called Sephora Virtual Artist, which lets you try on makeup and shades before you purchase them simply by taking a picture of your face and then putting a 3D rendering of the makeup on you. There's this amazing handheld device called AccuVein that takes data and allows doctors to create sort of a map of where veins are inside of you for more precise injections, blood drawing, and it's been found to really, really help increase overall quality of care. So, diving into some educational apps, there was one amazing app I found called that was designed by teachers and will do things like take students on virtual field trips. So these field trips are 360 degrees and they're 3D environments, so they're very immersive. They also have 3D models where students can see a model right in front of them and interact with that. There are great opportunities for parent involvement, so newsletters, different ways to communicate the learning with parents. There are interactive activity sheets, and the idea is to have some curriculum to go with the field trips and word walls to help with vocabulary. There's also the Math Alive kit that combines AR and interactive games. It is available for up to third grade. Their sort of biggest kit is for kindergarten, and it's based on standards, so it covers dozens of math skills, and there are opportunities for independent and partner work and even whole group work. And there are lots of videos on their website if you want to check that out. I wanted to include a clip of one so you could get a sense of what this looked like.
On this number 5 card will be an animal that is in the mountainous region. So I put it under the camera like this, and everything I'm going to show you here is 3D. So I'll click each of these buttons twice. This is the first one. 5. And I have 5 of these moose. Now I can bring it up close like this and show these animals like this, just hanging up on the card, just standing there.
I can help. That's Michael Moose.
And then
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
See these like this. You can tilt them or I can keep them.
And this is augmented reality.
5.
And here's the 5 tally marks.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.
Go ahead.
F, I, V, E.
Yep.
5, 5, 5.
That's a fun.
Okay. So that is one of the offerings in the kit. I found 3 other great apps to share with you. There is one called Amazing Space Journey, which I've used myself with upper elementary students, mostly 4th and 5th grade, and that has a 3D model of the solar system, and students can navigate through it, click on specific celestial bodies for more data. There's one called Zoo Kazam and Bugs 3D, where students can learn about 3D animals, and there are models and infographics. And then there is one called Quiver Education that allows teachers to print a black and white 2D picture. Students color it in, and then they're able to use a smart device to make their drawing come to life as a 3D model. And as you can see in the picture with the question marks, they're able to click on each of the different sort of pieces of the model to learn more information about them. So I reflected on the benefits, drawbacks, and conclusions I had on AR. Some of the obvious benefits are that, they take, or AR takes something that might just be learned in a book, sort of in an abstract way, and makes it concrete and visual. When students are able to manipulate something and get a closer look at something that seems three-dimensional in front of them, it can obviously help them better understand it, especially with things that are a little harder to understand, like the solar system, which can seem so vast. It definitely helps the concept of the solar system be understood better. You can go on field trips anywhere in the world, whether it's the bottom of the sea, a distant country, or space. If a developer makes an amazing model of this, then students can go there. And obviously, all of us have experienced that when there is a screen involved, especially if it's something interactive, it can definitely increase student attention and student motivation. So in the videos you'll see of any example of an AR tool, students are always really excitedly interacting with their devices, and it's very active. It's not passive. The students are excited and engaged. Some of the drawbacks are that there is less time interacting with reality because students are in the augmented reality space, which I think is important to consider because it goes back to the question of, is this adding something to the experience? Is this better than reality? In the case of exploring a cell or going into outer space, I would say absolutely, because there's not a way to do that in reality. But going back to the short clip that I showed you of the Math Alive kit, that was sort of an example that I thought, while there were a few benefits, like, when there was the picture of the moose, there was a moose sound, which sort of helps reinforce learning through, using the sense of sound. And there was the voice kind of reading and counting with the student. Those are all things that students could either do with a teacher or with partners in a group or at a station. And to me, it seems like these same skills could be learned, but in a classroom setting where they're interacting with others, and they're, frankly, in touch with reality and not just on a screen for the sake of being on a screen. So that goes to my next point, like the unnecessary incorporation of technology. While I think some of these apps are definitely very useful and do things and have students learn things that could not be possible without the technology. Certain things like counting, I think, could definitely be better done in real life with students using manipulatives in front of them. And of course, there's the reality that this isn't available to all classrooms because all classrooms don't have technology that enables this. And as someone who thinks a lot about equitable classroom spaces, it's really important to think about creating solutions that will help a lot of people as opposed to only those schools and classrooms that have access to technology. And so after having looked at all of these educational apps, I also came to some conclusions for how I think AR can be really successfully implemented in classrooms. So not only is there the AR experience, there also needs to be thoughtful curriculum incorporated. I think some of these strongest apps had really great curriculum, whether it's, there are virtual lessons in Aug that, and opportunities to interact with information. This is what makes it really strong. It's important for it not to just be a model that students stare at. They have to learn from it. It must add something to the educational experience, right? So it has to be an opportunity to do something that you couldn't simply do sitting in a classroom or maybe even on a regular field trip that you can go to on a school bus. And it's really important that skills like collaboration are also promoted. So, we all sort of fear a future where it might be decided that what's best for students is to sit one-on-one in front of a screen and learn that way. We all know as teachers that that's not the best way to learn, and it's certainly not the best way to learn really important 21st century skills like collaboration, communication. And so it's really important that these not isolate students, but that they help students become better learners and reinforce all of the wonderful skills that we know are going to be important for our students' future. Okay, so that is my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm including lots of links to additional resources in my blog post, so please see that for more. Thanks. Bye, everyone.